It's January 2023, and in January, I always used to get excited. I'd say, here's an opportunity for a whole new year. It's a blank slate, a clean canvas. I can leave last year behind me. I'm going to set some goals and New Year's resolutions. And that's what I did. And then by the 15th of January or the end of January, I'd be really disappointed because I hadn't followed through on any of them. And then I met Mr. Rohn, and he told me something that I never ever forgot. G'day and welcome. My name is Willem. On this channel, I share the philosophy and the wisdom that Mr. Jim Rohn shared with me over 30 years ago. By consistently applying the principles that Mr. Rohn taught me, I've been able to lead a life on my terms, and I surely do wish the same for you. Now, what he told me when I met him about setting goals and New Year's resolutions was that nothing changes if you don't change. He said, for things to change, you must change. And why I was getting disappointed by the middle of January and the end of January is that I'd realized I was doing exactly what I'd done in December and November the year before. I hadn't changed. I hadn't done anything differently. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 strategies that I've learned over the years and that Mr. Rohn shared with me that helped me to realize the goals that I set for myself every year and every quarter. So let's dive straight in. Strategy 1 is this: set clear, specific goals with a timeline. Tony Robbins said, if you don't know what it is you want, the chances of you obtaining it are extremely low. On January 1, I used to say things like, I'd like more money. I'd like to lose some weight. I'd like to play more golf. But I never ever wrote a specific goal. And that was the very first thing Mr. Rohn shared with me. He said, you've got to have very specific, clear goals with timelines. So now, every year, that's exactly what I do. If you want to lose some weight, your goals should read something like this. I want to weigh 65 kilo by the 28th of February 2023. Now that's a very, very clear goal. It's measurable, it's very specific, and it's timeline driven. So there's just no arguing. On 28th of February, if you get on the scales, you will either weigh 65 kilo or you won't. So that's the first strategy. Become very, very specific with your goals. I know people who think they set goals, but they're actually vague wishes. They're just hopes that things will get better. And I assure you, hope is not a strategy. And that leads me to strategy number 2. Have a very clear plan as to how it is you're going to achieve your goal. Mr. Rohn was very specific. He actually said, hope is not a strategy. Even poor people hope. If I asked to see your current financial plan for your future, your plan for financial independence, the ability to live on your own assets, on your own resources, without having to rely on welfare of the government, would I get so excited by your plan that I would want to share it on this video and on all social media because I think that plan is so good? And if you don't have a plan for your financial future, my next question is this: why not? I know money isn't everything. I'm the first to agree with you. But it was Zig Ziglar who said, money's not everything, but it is right up there with oxygen. And the reality of life is this, that if you have financial pressures, if you have financial stress, everything in life seems to just fall apart. So I believe strongly that everyone should have a financial plan for the next 12 months, for the next 10 years, for the rest of their life. Start with the end in mind. What sort of an income will you need when you retire to give you the lifestyle you really desire? You don't want to get to 65 to 70 driving what you don't want to drive, traveling to where you don't want to travel, and living in a house that you don't want to live in. Now is the time. January is a great time to create a financial plan for your future well-being. So that's strategy 2. Have a very clear plan for every goal that you set yourself. Strategy 3 is get committed. Burn the boats. Here is a quote from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A long while ago, a great warrior had to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded soldiers and equipment, then gave the order to burn the boats that had carried them. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, "You see the boats going up in smoke. That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish." They won. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his boats and cut all the sources of retreat. Only by so doing can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential success. Now, that is such a great quote from Think and Grow Rich. And I've found from my own personal experience, the only way to really achieve any goal is to burn the boats, cut off all manner of retreat. If you do that, it'll force you forward. And by forcing forward, you learn to get better. You do things more efficiently, you become more effective. But you've got to have that commitment of burning the boats behind you. Leave no avenue for retreat. I personally believe that 97% of the population doesn't achieve their goals because they're only vaguely interested, they're not committed. Napoleon Hill is unequivocal. He says you must have a ardent desire. I mean, I love that word, ardent. It's burning, it's passionate. That's the sort of desire you must have to achieve any goal. If you have an ardent desire to achieve a goal, people will start saying things to you. They'll say things like, "Are you nuts? What's got into you? Are you obsessed?" And they're the sort of statements you want to hear. Once you start hearing those sort of statements, you know you are on the right track. Because people will look at you and they will think you're a bit crazy. And you are probably crazy to the great majority of the population because they don't think that way. That's my advice to you. Have an ardent desire. Have a passionate desire to achieve what you want to achieve. And then just go for broke. Never ever give up. Just keep going. And no matter what people say, whether they say you're nuts or crazy or obsessed or whatever, just smile at them, say thank you very much and keep going. So that's strategy number 3. Get committed, burn the boats. Strategy 4 is get an accountability partner. What's easier to do? To go out on a cold morning at 6 a.m. for a run, or to have someone meet you at the front door at 5:55 and say, "Come on, let's go." The reality is things just are easier when someone is sharing the load with you. I have 6 accountability partners. We meet every week on a Tuesday morning, and I've been doing this now for a number of years. And I really tend to look forward to that meeting every week, because every week you're telling 6 other people whether you've delivered on the goals you've set yourself for that past week or whether you haven't. And there is just nothing more powerful than being accountable to someone. Yes, by all means, be accountable to yourself, but being accountable to someone else just adds a whole new layer of discipline. So that would be my advice. Have someone who can share the journey with you. They've got to be as motivated as you do. They've got to be as crazy as you do. They've got to understand what your desires are, your ardent desire. They've got to understand all that. And then find someone who will walk the path with you, who will encourage you, who will pick you up when you fall. If you're interested in forming or being part of an accountability group, I've put my email in the instructions below. Drop me a line and I'll send you some information. Now, before we go to strategy 5, if you're finding this video useful, if you're finding these strategies may help you, could you please like the video and even consider subscribing? In 2023, I'll be putting out a video every week on something that Jim Rohn has taught me over the last 30 years. Okay, let's go to strategy 5. Strategy 5 is this: keep score. It was Peter Drucker who said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't manage it, you can't improve it. You simply need to know your numbers. It's really that important. You need to know what your balance is at the bank. You need to know your weight. You need to know your cholesterol numbers. These are such important numbers. And the thing is, numbers don't lie. You may not like the numbers, but it doesn't matter. Once you know what the numbers are, you can then put a plan in place to improve them. But first of all, you've got to know the numbers. Keeping score, checking your numbers, will tell you one of two things. It will either tell you to celebrate because you're on track, you're doing well, or the numbers will tell you to contemplate. Why am I off track? Why am I not progressing? Why am I not doing what I said I would do? But you've got to keep score, and don't let the numbers get away from you. If the numbers are telling you to make some changes and make them quickly. When I was young and went into business for the first time, I didn't keep my numbers close to me and I nearly went bankrupt. Now I reconcile my accounts every single day, and it's just so important to know where you are. Now, I like to finish every video with a bonus tip if I can. This bonus tip again comes from Think and Go Rich. You'll remember that earlier in the video I said you had to have an ardent desire. But how do you develop that? How do you actually develop that desire, that passionate desire? Well, here's Napoleon Hill's tip on developing an ardent desire. He says, you control your thoughts. You tell yourself what you want, the more specific the better, and you create a definite plan to get it. You write all of this down and you read it aloud to yourself 2 times every day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. Within a short amount of time, your desire will grow to levels that cannot be beaten down with small roadblocks. So that is such a great bonus tip. Read it aloud. Something happens when you say things out loud. Rather than just having them spinning in your head, if you say things and read them out loud, whether that's affirmations or goals you're setting for yourself, things just start happening. Don't ask me how it works, I just know it works. So if there's something you really want to desire and you want to develop a passion for it, write it down, write out how you're going to achieve it, and read it out every morning, read it out every evening. I promise you, it'll be right at the front of your mind every day, and you will just start automatically moving towards the goals you've set yourself. Now, you'll recall earlier in the video, I was quite passionate about having a plan for your financial independence in the future. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, I put the video up here on creating a financial plan for yourself, and I would highly recommend you have a look at that video if you're interested in making a secure financial future for yourself. Thank you for taking the time out of your life to watch this video. I would encourage you to employ these 5 strategies on your New Year's resolutions and the goals that you've set yourself for 2023. If you do, you will thank me later.